Hello, welcome to our lesson on Tuesday. Our goal today is to read chapters 3 and 4 and to annotate using the 4 steps of text approach. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up the PDF. Remember, once you have it open, you can click that open with and annotate with Cami to pull the Cami back up. Another thing that you might want to have open on your screen is the text approach document. You're going to be allowed to use the text approach document on your assessment later this week, so it might be a good idea to have it out now and to be referencing it as you make your annotations. So once you have your PDF pulled up in Cami and you're looking at the annotations and the text that we've been reading, let's go ahead and navigate to chapter 3. So let's go ahead and scroll down until we see Michael Jordan's face and the word commitment here on page 12. So we left off with chapter 2 talking about fear, and chapter 3 will be talking about commitment. The first thing we'll always want to do with text approach is make a nice prediction. So given what we know about Michael Jordan, what we've read so far, and the title of this chapter, which is commitment, let's go ahead and make a text box. And let's write our first annotation today. I want you to be using the numbers of the series of text approach that you're on. So since predictions are number 1, I'm going to write number 1, and I'm going to write my prediction. I'm going to write colon, and here I'm going to stop because I'm going to ask that you write your own prediction. What do you think Michael Jordan's message about commitment is going to be? So pause the screencast, write your annotation, be sure you have the number 1, and complete a prediction for the chapter. Great, now that you have your prediction, I'm going to be reading the chapter out loud, pausing periodically to direct you to put some annotations in. All right, here we go. Chapter 3, there are no shortcuts. Coming out of high school, if I had been any less committed or had any less desire to achieve, I would have taken the easy path and gone to another school. But I went to North Carolina because I realized that a lot of Dean Smith's players got drafted by NBA teams. People were telling me I should go around the difficult route. But I wasn't about to do that. I had locked in, committed to my goals. I wanted to find out. I wanted to know where I stood. Let's pause and do a text-to-self connection. So I'm going to add a text box right here. I'm going to write number 2, and I'm going to write text to self. That's my little abbreviation for what kind of connection I'm doing. And I want you to write a connection to a time where you could have taken the easy path but didn't. So I could have taken the easy path like MJ when, and then go ahead and complete that. Move that up so that you can see it. So complete your annotation, making a text-to-self connection. A time when you could have taken the easy path, you could have gone the easy way, but you didn't. You chose to go the more meaningful way, even if it was a little bit harder. Or you could always write about a time where maybe you did take the easy way, and you kind of went the opposite route. Okay, so pause the screencast, write your annotation, and then we'll keep reading. Great, now that you have your text-to-self connection, let's continue. I've always believed that if you put in the work, the results will come. I don't do things half-heartedly, but I know if I do, then I can expect half-hearted results. That's why I approach practices the same way I approach games. You can't turn it on and off like a faucet. I couldn't dog it during practice, and then, when I needed the extra push late in the game, expect it to be there. All right, let's pause. He uses this term dog it. I don't know about you, but that was creating a question for me. So I'm going to do a little text box here. I'm going to put 2 because we're still in step 2 of text approach. Remember, step 2 can either be a connection, a question, or a visualization. I'm having a question moment, and I'm going to invite you to ask a question about the term dog it. So in your annotation, please write some kind of question about dog it, whatever question is coming to mind for you. So you're not typing question about dog it, you're actually writing what your question is. So you can say something like, I'm wondering, I'm confused, what does he mean by? So go ahead and stop, write 2, and then go ahead and write your question about that term dog it, whatever's coming to mind there. Great, now we have a text-to-self connection, and we also have a question about dog it. Let's keep reading. But that's how a lot of people approach things, and that's why a lot of people fail. They sound like they're committed to being the best they can be. They say all the right things, make all the proper appearances, but when it comes right to it, they're looking for reasons instead of answers. All right, let's pause. We're a couple paragraphs into chapter 2, and let's do a step 3. Remember, step 3 is where you pause every couple paragraphs and you create a summary statement. So I'm going to put my text box down here. I'm going to put 3, and I want you to write a nice summary. What do you think that Michael Jordan is getting at in this opening paragraph here. He talks a little bit about going to North Carolina instead of going the easy way. He talks here about kind of the results and half-heartedly. He talks here about people. So look back through and kind of write your nice one-sentence summary. What do you think MJ's message is in this opening part of Chapter 3? All right, now that we've chunked the text, stopped the process, and written in our summary, let's keep reading. You see it all the time in professional sports. You can even see it in your friends or business associates. There are a million excuses for not paying the price. If I was only given a particular opportunity, or if only the coach, teacher, or boss liked me better, I could have accomplished this or that. Nothing but excuses. Part of this commitment is taking responsibility. That's not to say there aren't obstacles or distractions. If you're trying to achieve, there will be roadblocks. I've had them. Everybody has them. But obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Let's stop. I like this paragraph because Michael Jordan is using a lot of visuals. He's talking about obstacles, he's talking about roadblocks, he's talking about walls and turning around and climbing. It's like a very visual paragraph. So whatever you were like kind of imagining while MJ was giving us that paragraph, let's put that in an annotation. So let's stop. Let's give ourselves a nice little text box right here. I'm going to write, we're back to step 2 of text approach, which is a visualization. I'm going to write, I am visualizing, and then I want you to finish that sentence. So what are you visualizing with words like obstacles, roadblocks, walls, turning around? What was kind of going on in your head? Just describe in like a sentence sort of what you're imagining as Michael Jordan is describing this. Okay, go ahead and pause and do that. Wonderful, we have a visualization. Let's keep going. I got a very good lesson about distractions my junior year at North Carolina. My sophomore season turned out to be my best in college. Because of that, there were all kinds of expectations during my junior year. What I tried to do was come out and live up to those expectations. I was trying to live up to everyone else's expectations from me instead of following my own road. I found myself standing around looking for the spectacular dunk, cheating out on the defensive end to get that breakaway situation. Okay, let's pause. We're a few more paragraphs in, so we definitely want to chunk the text and not go any further. So I'm going to put a couple annotations down here at the bottom. The first is I want you to try a text or text to world annotation. So your choice. So I'm going to put either text to text or text to world, and I want you to say that something in this text is reminding me of some other text. That could be a book you've read, a movie you've watched, a television show that you've seen. And I want you to make that connection and then say because and then finish the sentence. And it's really important to make nice specific connections. So avoid kind of vague things like, oh, this reminded me of this movie I saw. But when Michael Jordan says this, it reminds me of this movie I saw this because of this. And make a really nice, precise connection. So one annotation we just added was a text to self or a text to world. Go ahead and pause. Wonderful. Hopefully you have a nice text to text or text to world connection. The next thing I want you to do is to add a nice summary statement. So let's add a 3, because 3 is our stop and summarize. And let's just write this section is about. And try to get the big general meaning. Remember, we don't want to get bogged down by small details like where he went to college or dunking. Those are too specific. I want the big general idea of this section. What is he getting at? Okay, so pause the screencast and write in your summary. Wonderful. Let's continue. Coach Smith called me in one day and showed me 2 films, one from the beginning of my sophomore season, the other from the beginning of my junior year. They were totally the opposite. I was looking for shortcuts, and that wasn't how I got there. I still had the desire, but I had lost my focus. All right, let's pause and do a nice text-to-self connection. So I'm going to do a text box. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to do 2, text to self. What was a time when you lost focus? So I lost focus when? He's talking about the difference between his sophomore year and his junior year. Something happened that caused him to lose focus. I'm curious to know a time when you lost focus. So in your annotation, do a text to self connection and talk about a time when you lost focus. Great. All right, let's finish up chapter 3 here. You have to stick to your plan. A lot of people try to pull you down to their level because they can't achieve certain things. But very few people get anywhere by taking shortcuts. Very few people win the lottery to gain their wealth. It happens, but the odds certainly aren't with them. Many people get it the honest way by setting their goals and committing themselves to achieving those goals. That's the only way I'd want it anyway. All right, we're at the end of our section, so we should always end with a summary. So I'm going to add my last text box. I'm going to put the number 3 because that's my stop and summarize. This section is about. Okay, so go ahead and finish up your summary for this passage, this chapter. Wonderful. And if you look back now, you're going to notice a series of 2s and 3s, right? We went back and forth. We had some connections, some questions, some visualizations for the 2s, and then we stopped and summarized every few paragraphs. And that's really what you'll want to be doing on your assessment. You'll want to be having those nice, frequent, and thorough annotations. Okay, we're ready to take it off the page for step 4. Remember, step 4 is where you do something with the text. You don't just put it away and move on, but you interact with it in some kind of a meaningful way. And that's where you're going to want to have your graphic organizer out. So go ahead and pull up your graphic organizer. Okay, it should look like this. So far, you should have something filled out for chapter 1 and chapter 2, right? We pulled out quotes, we tried to have the overall message, and then you made some personal connections to the message here in this column. Now you're doing the same thing for chapter 3 and commitment. You're writing a quote, so you're going to need to go back to the text, skim back through just like we did together, and find a quote that you think really shows his message in this section. And remember, we don't want to detail, so nothing about North Carolina or his specific coach, right? It should be something really general that speaks to his message about commitment, okay? When you're ready to do that, you'll type in your quote about commitment. You'll put that quote in your own words. What do you think that means? And then try to make a text-to-self connection, talking about a time in your life when you had that message kind of resonate or apply to you, okay? Once you're done with that graphic organizer, we'll be ready to move on to chapter 4.